everybody. This is Joshua Picklesimer, sports writer for the Bell-Ringer newspaper, welcoming you back to another edition of the Sports Squad from Augusta University's Department of Communication and Bell-Ringer Phoenix Media. Today, the Sports Squad will discuss the new Esports program, Augusta University's volleyball team's match yesterday, the AU cross-country team competing for a conference championship this upcoming weekend. We'll talk about AU men's basketball's upcoming exhibition at GSU, as well as Georgia Bulldogs football, and unfortunately, a wrap-up of the Atlanta Braves season. Joining me today are Noah Bowers, the Esports general manager and writer for the team, and Brionna Law, senior communications major and co-president of the Media Production Club. Carlos Rodriguez, sports writer for the Bell-Ringer newspaper, Justin Gray, sports writer for the Bell-Ringer newspaper, Patrick Motes, and as well, as always, Rachel Carman. Everybody, thank you for joining me today. So I think we're going to go ahead and get this kicked off with esports. We'll go ahead and start it off at the top of the show. So first of all, I wanted you, Noah, and you, Bree, to give me, since us three are in the esports class here at Augusta University, it's the first semester where it started, and since the program has just started, talk about what we do in the class and how it's preparing us for the program that is now being established here at Augusta University.
Yeah, so basically esports communication is taught by Dr. Travis Cronin, along with help from Dr. David Bulla, and basically we just delve into the sort of untapped resource of production that esports is. If you look at matches on ABC, on YouTube, they have these high dollar equipment items for video games. So I just think it's a very interesting class, especially since we've started our esports team. I think the time is right to maybe, I guess University is a little bit late to this, but I'll say strike while the iron is hot. Teaching students to produce esports shows and produce esports productions for the players on the esports team. So basically, we just practice doing that. We practice doing live productions. We sometimes play video games just to kind of get in the mindset of what games are competitive and how competitive they are. And we are working towards a bigger project. All the people in our class are working towards a 15-minute production. So that's a big goal that we're going towards now. But it's a lot of fun.
What about you, Noah? What have you liked and what have you done in the esports class so far?
Yeah, so my favorite part of the esports class has definitely been learning how to broadcast and shoutcast for live events. It's very similar to live sports, having to have two commentators bounce off each other, get into a rhythm to talk about the exciting moments, the statistical moments that fans of the game are going to enjoy. So as a fan of esports and sports in general, being able to get behind the scenes look on that and actual practice on broadcasting and shoutcasting over titles like Rocket League and Super Smash Brothers has just been a ton of fun. So that's been my favorite part.
Yeah, no, as a person that gets to be the other anchor with you on a ton of the broadcast, I've enjoyed it myself. So before we get it kicked off, for those that don't know what esports is, how about y'all give me like a description of what esports is, since this is probably new to a ton of people, especially listening to this podcast.
Yeah, for sure. So esports is pretty much any type of digital competition that is taking place between individuals or teams in a specific video game or title. For example, here at Augusta University, the two titles that we have teams for are Rocket League and Valorant. So we have student athletes compete in those teams against other universities in order to come out on top. And esports is pretty much the culmination of the best competitive players in the world competing against each other to see who's the best at the game, whose teamwork is the best, whose chemistry works better than the others. And the competition and teamwork and effort that these student athletes put into the video games is very similar to the practice and skills that goes into real sports like basketball and the volleyball teams.
Mm-hmm. Bree, if you had to give us a definition of what you think esports is, what would it be?
I guess it's all that Noah said. I mean, esports is competition-based, strategy-based, skill based. It just depends on how much time that you devote to the game, and how much camaraderie and how much you're willing to work with your teammates if it's a team-based game. Just like in basketball, football, you have to be able to communicate with your teammates. You have to be able to, despite maybe butting heads, you have to be able to respect your teammates enough to listen to them. So yeah, esports is just like any other sport, really, just video game based.
Exactly.
I agree. Somebody who likes all the sports you just said, basketball, football, baseball, all those. And then I also like playing video games, electronic sports. It's sports. It's just like the real world, just electronically. And so I think that you both kind of hit the nail on the head there. So the news coming out of the university this past week, we in the class, we didn't really know when this was going to happen because we've got to see the arena. We just didn't know when it was going to be open, but it's coming out October 23rd. We're going to have this grand opening for the arena, and I feel like this is the official kickoff of the esports program here at Augusta University. So, and this is not just like showing off the esports team. This is an event to come together and celebrate esports as a whole. So Bree and Noah, talk to us about the upcoming event, the grand opening, and where we can find it, how we get there, and if we need any other information, where we can go to get that.
Yeah. So we have like you said, the grand opening of the Georgia Cyber Center's esports program, basically, on Monday, October 23rd from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Georgia Cyber Center. It's in the Schaefer McCartney lobby. And if you need transportation, the shuttle can take you, but there will be parking available for...
Because this is going to be on the cybersecurity campus, right? Okay,
yes.
Gotcha.
Parking in the deck is $1.25 an hour, which is pretty cheap for about 2 hours. And there's going to be a lot there. There's going to be games, Mario Kart, Super Smash Brothers. They might boot up Valorant and Rocket League as well. There will be food, appetizers, and desserts. There will even be cosplay. So if you want to show up as a video game character or a fictional character that you enjoy, you can come do that. The ribbon cutting, the big event, will be at 6 p.m. But we just recommend you come at 5, meet people who are also passionate about esports, and just come together as a community.
Absolutely. Noah, talk about the grand opening from your perspective. And before this podcast started, we were talking about you have a pretty interesting job yes. for the grand opening. So talk about that as well, what you'll be doing at the grand opening.
Yeah, so we're actually going to be having a live broadcast of the event, and I will be one of the co-hosts at the desk, taking you guys through all the different events and people that are going to be attending the event. We're going to be doing a lot of interviews. We're going to be getting to know the players of the teams. We're getting to know the faculty members that have made this all possible behind the scenes. And I'm going to be front and center with my co-host, Michael Fortino. And that's going to be a lot of fun. And the esports event, it's not just for people who might be interested in competing for esports. If anybody there is, interested in video games in general, watches it on YouTube and Twitch, and just wants to get to know that community here at AU, feel free to come. It's going to be a lot of fun, 5 to 7, like Bree said, at the Georgia Cyber Center. The shuttles can take you. There's parking available. It's a pretty big parking garage, so I wouldn't worry too much about finding space, but it is going to be pretty packed. We already have a lot of people confirmed going, some special guests, some speeches that are going to happen. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for it.
I know. I'm not actually excited. I am excited.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for the event, to be honest with you. So, the teams that I wanted to talk about, the only two that we have currently, and like I said at the beginning of the show, you're the general manager for the teams, yep. And you're the only sports writer on the esports team for the Bell Ringer newspaper. So, I feel like there's no better person to go to than you. So, I wanted you to talk about the teams that we have competing in the esports program as of right now. And then while you're talking about that, give us some players that are on the teams and just give us a total overview of the teams and how they've been doing the past couple months that the the program's been going, but maybe we haven't known it yet.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll kick it off with the varsity Rocket League team. Currently, they've been competing for us in the Peach Belt Conference, which is our local Division II college athletics conference, and they just finished their regular season 5-0. They finished undefeated in their first season ever competing. They were dominant the entire season. It was awesome to watch. I covered all of their matches on the Bell Ringer, so if you want to take a look back on some of the matches, take a look at the stats for some of the players, feel free to check there. We also have past recordings of the games. If this is your first time hearing about it and you want to go and watch the team and see how they did, it's going to be on the Twitch channel that is linked at the bottom of those articles, so feel free to do that. And now that they're 5-0, they are going into the Peach Belt Conference Championship for Rocket League as the number 1 seed. So they actually get a bye, just like normal sports, and they'll be competing Sunday, October 22nd at 4 p.m. against the winner of either Coker University or the University of South Carolina, Aiken. Both of those teams we handled very swiftly in the regular season, so I know the boys are confident, but disciplined, focused going into this tournament. Specifically, I want to talk about the captain of the Rocket League team, Jordan Moratine. He has been lights out all season long, and he's been working behind the scenes as well with Dr. Colin Stewart to really get the esports program up and rolling. He's been a big part of this program, and he's competing at the highest level. It's been really impressive to see. I think he finished the season with 24 goals, which is very impressive. He was averaging over 1.5 goals per map. Just a complete offensive mastermind when it comes to Rocket League. And he really led this team to victory. He was the only member of the varsity team to compete in every single match over the season. We've had a lot of substitutes come in and rotate through the roster just to accommodate for schedule issues, sick days, stuff like that. But Jordan Moratine, he was there every match and just putting it down against any opponent. It was really a sight to behold.
Every time that you come into class and you get to tell me about it, I'm actually pretty enthusiastic when I get to hear about it. So before we wrap up this part of the show for the Sports Squad, I just wanted to quickly ask both of you, since we've been in the class, what originally got y'all into esports? Because I can definitely feel the passion in both of you, but what originally got y'all into it in general?
Well, I've always grown up playing video games, Nintendo primarily. First console was a Nintendo Wii, or first handheld was a Nintendo DS, but regardless, just being able to just relax. It's sort of an escape for me, and now growing up and learning that, I like production, I like media production, filming, doing all that stuff, and to know that there's a sector where I'm also able to still have my passion for video games as well as working towards a career in videography was very interesting to me.
What about what originally got you into esports?
Yeah, so just like Bree, I've been playing video games since I was a kid. My dad used to keep all his old Nintendo and PlayStation consoles back from the 70s, and he would play them with me and my brother, and that really, fostered a love for video games in me at a young age. And so starting around middle school, I started watching some of these esports competitions like the Call of Duty League and the Rocket League tournaments, the RLCS, when that first started, which is the Rocket League Championship Series. And ever since then, I've been really passionate about the esports industry as a whole, where it's going, how accessible it is for anybody who loves video games, because everybody's got a PC, everybody's got a phone that can game, and not everybody has access to, these top tier programs for football or basketball, or maybe don't have the athletic gifts to really succeed in those areas. But with esports, if you have the willpower, the determination, and a gaming console, you can hop on and work your way up to compete against the best of the best. And so it's really awesome to see how big of a community it has become. And I'm super excited that Augusta University is starting to dive deep into that, because a lot of other universities near us already have pretty big esports programs. Kennesaw State, for example, their Rocket League team is actually competing in the Collegiate Rocket League series. They also have some professional Rocket League players that have come out of that program, and that's just a couple hours up the road. UGA, University of Georgia, also has a big esports program. So it's awesome that we're finally able to join that community, show it to the students here at AU, students who might be wanting to come to AU and foster that sense of passion about esports and video games. Now they have an opportunity to do that at the highest level. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see where this goes.
I'm right there with you, and I feel like a lot of people are right there with you as well. We obviously wouldn't have been able to have this program without Dr. Stewart, wouldn't be able to have the infrastructure in the communication department without Dr. Bulla. So there's a lot of people to thank, and we definitely want to give a shout out to all those people. So Noah, Bree, I want to thank you for coming on the first part of the Sports Squad today with me and talking about the esports program, and we cannot wait to see where this program goes. It's only up from here.
Oh yeah,
guys, thank you for joining me. All right, you're listening to the Sports Squad from a production of Bellringer Phoenix Media. All right, so coming back to you with our second part of the podcast today. Joining me are Rachel, Patrick, and new on the podcast, Justin Gray. So I want to get it started off with the cross-country team, Patrick. Y'all are going for the conference championships this upcoming weekend, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
On Friday or Saturday?
Saturday morning.
Y'all are traveling up to Oakdale, Georgia. And It's being hosted by North Georgia?
Yep. Oakwood, Georgia. It's being hosted by North Georgia at their Gainesville campus. The women's race is at 9 a.m. and the men's race is at 10:15. Women will be racing 5K, men racing 8K. The men are going for their fifth straight conference championship, so that's a big goal. Mm-hmm. That is a big feat to try and get. So there's definitely feeling of some pressure, but also some confidence, but understanding like job's not done yet. It's not done, so there's been nothing done. So we got to go out there and execute. And I know the women are going they have a legitimate shot at getting second place, which would be a huge win for them. They've been striving for that for many, many, many years, and so I know that would be big for them.
Now, I think last year they got second.
No, they got third last year.
At conference, they got third.
Yeah, conference, they got third.
Yeah, and then Flagler got, okay, you're right, because Flagler. So are you expecting Flagler to get one again like they did last year in the women?
Yeah, I would say that
category?
Flagler will probably take the one. They're really deep. They're a really talented team this year, and everybody knows that. They raced really, really well at Huntsville, and I think that, if our girls have like a phenomenal day and Flagler has a rough day, they might be able to get in there and break up some of their top seven a little bit and give them a run for their money. Mm-hmm. But I do think that Flagler can come away with the win.
Okay. Now, like you said in your opening there, that the cross, the guys are going for 5 in a row. So talk about that, like how much of an accomplishment that would be, and who on the team you think you're looking to step up, besides yourself, of course, because you're up there. But talk about how cool it is to go for 5 in a row. Job's not done, like you said, and who you're expecting to step up on the team to get that job done.
Yeah, 5 in a row. I think that would be the longest streak in Augusta sports history, so that's something that we want to take with some pride and stuff like that. Team-wise, stepping up, I think it's really just a equal effort all the way around. I think each person in our top 7 know what has to be done and what the job is, with our race plan and stuff like that. And I know that 8 through 15 has their own objectives that they want to get to, and there's a couple guys still gunning for that number 8 spot for the alternate for regionals and nationals too, so that spot's still kind of up for grabs also. But I think that with people realizing 5 in a row would be really, really big, and that's something that a lot of people don't quite think about or give it enough thought. I think it would be really, really big for our program, and so we know it's going to be a tough race. It's going to be a tough course. We know that it's going to take a lot of grit and a lot of heart, and so being able to go out there and do that'll be pretty special if we can come out there and get away with the win.
Mm-hmm. Now, has your team ran on the track or the course up in Oakdale before yet this season?
No.
Or Oakwood, sorry.
Well,
Oakwood.
we have, as a team, we have not.
Okay.
I actually did do a run up there when I went up to Dahlonega last weekend to go see my girlfriend and stuff like that over fall pause. I stopped by the course to run, and I thought it was pretty good. I took some notes on it and kind of reported back to coach and gave him my honest thoughts and stuff like that too. So it's a challenging cross country course. It is. I feel like what a cross country course is. It's not It's not super fast. It's not like a racetrack. It's not flat. There's some thick grass in the front, and then there's some woods in the back too with some roots and stuff. So it's pretty standard cross country course. So it's going to take some guts to go out there and race and stuff like that too. And we'll definitely need to pay attention a lot more to it, A, while we're racing, and B, to be mindful for regionals, because that's where the regional championship is in 4 weeks. So, and that race will be even bigger than conference. There'll be like 30-something teams there. So we'll definitely need to take note of how it feels and how the course runs, and when we come back, get prepped for that.
So strategy-wise on this course, since you took notes on it, do you think that this is going to be a course where y'all are going to be running like together a lot more? Or do you think this is going to be like kind of like last year's conference where like, you know, y'all kind of ran together, but like y'all were spread apart? Because like when it came to the finish line, it was like 1, 2, 3, 4. Like y'all had distance, but y'all weren't in like as much of a pack.
Well, we plan on running as a pack this year.
Okay.
That's just where that's what we do. We try and go into all of our races with. Last year it was a little bit different because Kai was way out in front, Kai Bricky, and then actually the rest of our team was the core group of our team came in together, and then we had like 1 or 2 file in after that. But I think that if we want to stick with a pack together this year, because we train together, we run together better as a pack. So I think if we go out there and just execute that and do it to the best of our ability, that's about all we can ask for.
Absolutely. You know, you were moving on to the women. You were talking about them before the podcast, how you were like just talking to them about the conference before we started. And who do you think, I wanted to ask you, like, who do you think on their team are you expecting to like really step up and kind of put the team on their back, and maybe like a couple of them that you think are going to show out to try to make sure that they can secure that second place in conference, which is what they've been going for?
Yeah. I know after like watching the girls race this past season and stuff like that, because we've always raced first, I know that they've gotten better just racing in general. Like you can tell they're just more aggressive, and they've gotten a lot better. I think some of the girls like Maria Biondiolo, she will. I think she's going to really step up. But I do expect veterans like Caroline Pierce and Riley Triplett to step up as well too. And I know that some of the younger girls will get ready also. But I kind of expect the veterans to kind of just step up and really like kind of be like, all right, guys, we can do this. We've been in this position before, whether you realize it or not. Just stay on our lead and fight. And I think that they'll go out there and do that.
Absolutely, I agree with you, and I'm really looking forward to next week's episode where we can hopefully say that the AU men's team achieved that 5 in a row in conference, and that would be really cool because I remember being there for last year for 4, and that was insane. So if it's 5, then I can only imagine how much more hype y'all are going to get for that. Yeah,
it'll be big too because I know Carlos, who's on the show. Sadly, he is not with us today. He's not here with us today. This will technically be like a full sweep for him, like. This would be going on 5, so if my memory serves me correct, yeah. So I know that's something that he really wants to get, so that way he can come through the program and be like, I never lost conference championships. I know that's something personal to him. It's personal.
Yeah, it's personal. A lot of bragging rights for him. All right, moving on to volleyball, and Rachel, you know, you're our volleyball know-it-all. So, you know, yesterday they played UNC Pembroke up at UNC Pembroke, right? So, and they swept 3-0. So, talk about that game, what you saw or what you've heard from it. Obviously, you probably weren't there.
No, I wasn't. But I was able
so, just talk to us about what you got from that game and what you saw, and just give us an overall view of it.
Yeah. I thought it was an outstanding performance from both sides of the team. Like you said, they went up against the UNC Pembroke Braves, which is weird to call them the Braves, but they're the Braves. Last night, and now UNC Pembroke is a part of the Conference Carolinas, so it was a non-conference game, but UNC Pembroke is number 2 in their conference behind Francis Marion, who AU swept 3-0 last week. So it's a good conference, and I think their record kind of shows it's a pretty split team almost. It's like they're 12-10 overall, 7-4 conference. So it looked pretty good going into the match, but they really fought hard. I think both teams really wanted the win. They came in ready to play and were not going to give it up easy. I think UNC Pembroke had the lead for the good half of all 3 sets. I think up until about 15 points, it was kind of up in the air. You know, they were kind of holding a 1 or 2 point lead over them. I think in the 3rd set, they had a lead up until it was like 17 points, tied at 17. Pembroke called a timeout. AU came back, scored like 3 points. They called another timeout. You know, they were getting nervous because Augusta came out really strong. They came out really, really, really fierce, and I think they had a lot of power. And we saw fantastic numbers from them. The set points, first of all, were 25-19, 25-22, 25-20. But some of the leaders for the team, we had Madeline Eden with 12 kills, and that's her season high so far. So that's exciting for her. She's hitting at a 4.29, which is just fantastic. And she's just doing really well this season. And of course, you hear about her all the time. You will continue to hear about her. Jasmine Wheeler, senior outside hitter, had also 12 kills, and she's got 265 for the season, which is that's a big deal. I think Madeline Eden is 81 for the season, so there's a bit of a difference there, but that just shows how strong Jasmine is as a player. And that was also her 10th double-double of the season for Jasmine. It's just she's very consistent with her skill, very consistent with her performance. She comes out on the court and just plays well every time, and it's nice to have a player like that on the team. Senior libero Dariana Luna had 13 digs, setter Janvier Bugs 33 assists, and she's at 480 total assists this season, which is just insane. She is such an excellent player. She leads the team well. She sets them up to get those points. And I think AU, something about them, we talked about it a lot on this podcast, they just get better every season, and I think we're seeing that a lot in the different positions. You have such excellent players in every position. You have your blockers, your hitters, your setters, they're all set well. That's set, a joke. Okay, no one laughed. But it's such a well-rounded team. They're laughing now because they feel bad. It's such a well-rounded team, I think, and it's just, it shows off well, and they just, you come in, watch a game, and it's going to be they're going to play some good volleyball. Other teams just really can't keep up with them, and I think it's funny in this match against UNC Pembroke, they only got one block, and that's like, oh, ow, for them. And that was Ruby Countryman. She's a junior middle hitter for UNC Pembroke. So it was a good game. They fought hard, but I think AU really showed off their endurance, their ability to continue to fight hard and not really give up. I mean, when you have a team who's like holding that lead over you with points throughout the sets, it can be a little discouraging, I think, but they didn't really let it bother them at all. They're still out there having a good time, really playing hard. I think they're a great team to watch. They're really doing well this season. And they will continue to do so. We've got 2 non-conference matches coming up in Greenwood, South Carolina, Saturday, October 21st. First, they'll face Carson Newman University at 12, and then University of Mount Olive at 4. And now those are part of the Conference Carolinas Conference as well. Now, Carson Newman University, we faced them in the Pacer Invitational, and we swept them in 3 sets. So that'll be a good game to watch. University of Mount Olive, we haven't faced them, or AU hasn't faced them yet this season. But last time they did in 2022, they won 3-2, and it went to 5 sets, which we haven't really seen this season at all, except against Mississippi College in the PBC Gulf South crossover, which AU also won. So I don't know, when a game goes to 5 sets, that's a good team. Both good teams on each side that are really fighting hard. So I don't know, we got some good games coming up, lots of exciting matches. So stay tuned for those for sure.
Yeah, no, it sure sounds like it. And like throughout your entire time, I was like trying to sit here and come up with a question, and then you answered my question the entire time. Because because Patrick pointed out the games are really close before, and so you're going to win those close games when you have such a deep team, and you kept saying that when you have players at every position, then you have backers behind that can play just as well. Right. And so when you have players like that, your team's going to play well. And in those close games, like if the other coach, it's close, 17-17, and they call a timeout, if you have a good team that's deep, you're going to come out of that timeout hot, and you're not gonna shrink in that moment. And I think that's why this team is as deep as that's why we're playing as well, because it's as deep as it is. Because those timeouts, they don't work on us. Mm-hmm. we're gonna come out. They're gonna come out there and they're gonna punch you in the mouth. They're not gonna get punched in the mouth. They're gonna go out there and punch somebody else in the mouth. Yeah. Maybe Jasmine will go out there and hit somebody in the face with a ball. Who knows? Since she's got 200 kills, So I'd hate to be that person, but it might happen. You never know.
Yeah, I think if I was on the other end, I would be like, I'm out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I've seen her hit it. It's scary.
But she's so smart though. She's not always going to do that such hard, forceful hit. They're gonna expect that from her. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But she's gonna roll it over to the side, and she's gonna just slightly send it over, and they don't expect it. And it's
those
powerful.
are just the hardest players to play against.
Oh my goodness.
She's got skills.
She does.
All right, moving on. This is our first time talking about basketball, Justin. Thank you for joining us once again. We actually have a preseason game, like a scrimmage coming up on Friday against GSU, and I hear you have everything that we need to know about it. So give us the game preview of what's going on, starting lineups, whatever you got. Give it to us.
This is a big matchup for Augusta, just to see where they're at as a team, because as many of they're a young team this year. Mm-hmm. They've got to replace a lot, most notably Tyshawn Crawford, PBC Player of the Year last year. But they're returning 6 guys, and 5 of the 12 guys on 13 guys on the team are freshmen. So big holes to fill. This is the 23rd time these two teams will be playing, and the first time since 2005. And Augusta's last win over Georgia Southern was 1990, where they won 69-67. So Georgia Southern's kind of dominated the series. They're a bigger school, so easier to recruit. But Augusta will be bringing out the starting 5. At the 1, they'll have Chris Britt. At the 2, they'll have Dimitri Gardner. At the 3 is David Vitti, who's been here it's his 3rd season, and Jaguar Kirby, who's also his 3rd season. He's going to be at the 4, and then Max Madsen, a transfer from St. Bonaventure. He was at University of Pittsburgh before that. So Madsen can add a lot of size in the hole because Augusta needs it. He's 6'10". He's very smart. He controls the whole practice. He tells everybody where they need to be. Coach Mitra said there's a lot of question marks as far as the basketball, but for Georgia Southern too, they have a head coach now who is Charlie Henry. He was Alabama's assistant coach last year, so he brought a bunch of transfers from big schools like Ohio State. So they have 6 guys who are a senior or older who have been playing basketball for 5-6 years. So it's going to be a very tough matchup. And Coach Mitra said that Georgia Southern's a heavy ball screen team. They do a lot of things in transition and a lot of reading off the ball screen coverages. So he said this will be a great matchup for them going forward because they'll see a lot of this in the season.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that this is good for the team to start a season because, because Dr. Bulla was telling us before the podcast started again that this is the first time in 3 years that Dip's having to go in there and he's having to actually no, I don't want to say coach because he's always coaching, but he doesn't really know what he has.
Educate,
learn, teach, everything because he's had the same players the past 5 years.
Yeah.
Prior to the season, he didn't have to get to know them. He knows what they're going to do. He knows what he's going to get out of each player. So I think this is a good game for his team to see up against a tough opponent. See what they're going to do when they're battle tested. So I actually really think this is a good. And what's it, Max
Madsen? Yeah, okay. It's Maximilian, but they call him Max. Yeah.
Okay, Max. And I think it's really important to see what we can get out of him because obviously he has big shoes to fill with Tyshawn going. I think that's. I'm interested to see what we can get out of him in gameplay because like I said, big shoes to fill. Obviously, he's not going to be Tyshawn Crawford, but I'm just really looking forward to see what we can get out of him. And you obviously know what you're going to get out of David Vitti. You obviously know you're going to get high-flying dunks and hard basketball out of Jaguar Kirby. So you got what you got on some of our players, but I'm really interested to learn what we have out of our young players and our new players transferring in.
Vitti also transferred here from Georgia Southern.
Yeah,
we have that.
I do remember that.
Yeah, I interviewed him earlier in the school year, and he's excited to go back. He said there's no bad blood, but excited to see some of the guys around the facility. Obviously, a new coach since he's been there and all, but yeah, they're ready to go. I practiced yesterday. They're dunking. They're past the point of practice. They're ready to play somebody on the other side.
You think this is one of those matchups where they just they kind of really don't have anything to lose in a fashion because if Georgia Southern's got a new coach and he's bringing in all these transfers who've played at all these Power 5 schools, like you said, senior and older. With Augusta having such a young team, if they can go up there and play good ball against something like that, you kind of, even if they lose, you kind of got to walk away feeling like, well, played pretty good, if we can go out there and size up against them, you got to feel pretty good about yourself too. So maybe you might kind of see just kind of like a team where they're just let's just figure it out. Let's just try it out, see what's going on, and maybe try a few things and see if it works or not.
Yeah, most of all, it's an exhibition, so it doesn't matter. Against them, it doesn't hurt them.
Yeah.
So they have nothing to lose, and if they can keep this game close for even to halftime, if they can have it, if they're winning at halftime, that's a win. This is a tough Georgia Southern team. I think they're going to finish top 8 in the Sun Belt, which is a really good basketball conference. But yeah, I'm excited to see the team and what they bring to the floor.
Absolutely, and this is, like you were saying, this is a game to just knock the rust off. Trying to go out there against a good opponent, knock the rust off, and see what you can do. All right, moving on to the Georgia Bulldogs. We'll talk about the Georgia Bulldogs for a little bit here. We got some good news. We got some bad news.
Yeah,
the good news is they beat Vandy. It was 27-20, if I'm correct,
or it was 37.
37 to 20.
Yeah, it was 37
to 20. You beat them by they beat Vandy by a couple scores, and they're 7-0. They're still number 1 in the country. That's the good news.
Yep.
Here comes bad news, Patrick.
Brock Bowers. This is not good.
He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks
with a high ankle sprain, and he went Monday morning he had surgery and a procedure, what they call tightrope surgery. Basically, it's like where they use some medical rope, and it just helps with the recovery time faster. Another player on Georgia, as I'm reading right here, a tackle, Amarius Mims, who went out with it in September, also had that too, and he has not returned to the field yet. But it sounds like unfortunately it's a common injury because of turf. I don't know when people are not going to, wake up and realize we don't need to have turf anymore, because it seems like both NFL and college, turf monster is killing players left and right. Regardless, though, the media is throwing out a timeline of 4 to 6 weeks. Georgia has the bye week this week, and then they go to Gainesville to play a tough Florida team who will definitely look to be like, they don't have Brock Bowers. Let's go take advantage of this. And I think the rest of the league is looking at that also. But at the same time, though, we'll see. Brock Bowers is extremely talented, and we'll see what he does. But Kirby Smart has not given a timeline for anything on when he's going to be back. I personally think they're going to just kind of like nurse him back, and they're going to throw him in at the very latest possible time that they need to. I thought that Georgia didn't play their best game against Vandy, but I think there was, for people that don't know, Vandy's stadium is under construction, and Georgia's locker room was a tent. So, and it was at 11 in the morning Central Time. Something tells me they didn't get out of bed to go play this game. They kind of just slept walk. They didn't look super awesome, especially towards the end of the game too. And then they had that busted coverage on like the first drive. That was painful to watch. But it'll be interesting to see how this team kind of rebounds and stuff like that. I'll be interested to see like who steps up on the team. I know in the tight end position they have Oscar Delp. He's actually really good. A lot of people don't give him enough credit, but he's really young. And then they have Florida, and then they have Missouri coming to town. Missouri's 20. They've been playing really good ball this year. And then Ole Miss comes to town, and then that's their final home game. And then they go to Tennessee and to Georgia Tech, and then hopefully in the SEC championship game. So it'll be interesting. I think that they kind of have to use the wide receivers a lot more. I think it's time for Ra Thomas and Dominique Lovett, and even having Ladd McConkey back is good. So I think it's time for those guys to step up too. Dejon Edwards in the backfield he had a great game. He carried that team, I feel like, personally last weekend with all those rushing yards and touchdowns. I think that he put the team on his back. So it'll be interesting. As much as it pains me to say this, I don't think Georgia is the best team right now. I do think they are a top 4 team. I'm not sure why Washington, after that amazing game against Oregon last week, didn't crack the top 4. I think that they should be in there over Florida State right now. Florida State had that really good opening season. They've kind of just mellowed out from there. I think you gotta keep Ohio State and Michigan in there. They've been running the table as well. But I think those are the top 4 teams. And I personally think Oregon should be ranked a little bit higher because they went to Washington and only lost by a few points. Given Dan Lanning made some very aggressive calls and they didn't convert when they needed to, and especially before halftime, they should have went for the chip shot, but they didn't. So it was a tough loss, but it wasn't the worst loss you've ever seen. Michael Penix played outstanding, and I know that everybody last week on the podcast had Washington to win, and I was the lone wolf taking Oregon, and I'll take the loss, but I just want to say it was closer than everybody else expecting that loss because of they made some poor decisions, but it was aggressive decisions, so I'll take the heat for it. But I do think those are the best teams right now, and everybody's freaking out about Georgia and the 3-peat's off and this. And I mean, what are you gonna do about it? I mean, there's no clear favorite this year. You guys got any other thoughts about this upcoming weekend?
I think it's big for Carson Beck going forward because just to see what he's going to be like without his safety valve. I mean, that's a big time. It's not just finding him, but it's finding him and Brock Bowers getting 20 more yards. Like, he's going to have to find ways to create drives to push the ball down the field, and whether he can do it or not, it's going to be answered in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was actually watching, I'll give the credit to him, J.D. Pickell on 3 yesterday on YouTube. I like him a lot. And he was saying that it'll be really interesting to see how this Georgia team fares, because if those wide receivers can step up, and then when you get to the SEC championship game and then you add Brock Bowers back, that's going to be a lot of headache for a lot of teams to defend too. So just wanted to throw that idea out there. That's probably best case scenario for the Georgia Bulldogs. Worst case scenario, we don't even want to think about it.
I mean, I was looking at a ranking the other day. It was ranking the 11 undefeated teams, like 1 through 11, and I think Georgia was 4. they ranked Georgia 4th on the undefeated teams. Now, do you think that they would have been a little higher if Brock Bowers was healthy, or do you think just based off the way Georgia looked the past couple weeks that 4 is a deserving? Or do you think it's more so about the other? Do you think it's about Washington, Ohio State, and Michigan rather than not about Georgia? Do you think it's more about them or less about Georgia?
I think it's I think it's a combination of both.
Okay.
Georgia this year is not as elite as they have been the past 2 years. Brand new quarterback, brand new offensive coordinator, brand new team. They've lost a lot of talent in the past 2 years. Now, that doesn't mean they don't have a talented team, but I think that plays a factor. There's no elite team right now. There's no team where they're in their own tier this year. You've got 6 teams that can all play ball against each other on any given day. I think that it's a combination of that. I do think that the whole Michigan's going to win it all. I think that people need to ease the brakes on that a little bit. Not because I hate Michigan or anything, but because they played Rutgers. I'm sorry, but I feel like Kentucky, Vanderbilt, and Auburn and South Carolina would run the ball against Rutgers. Rutgers is not a very talented team. So I think that people need to understand that while the SEC is not in its prime this year, it still mops the floor on so many other teams out there. So I think that I'm kind of surprised they haven't dropped Georgia yet. They're probably just keeping them there because they haven't really given them a reason to be dropped, even though the rest of the college football community is calling for their heads right now. It's like they need to be dropped.
Yeah, I know, and I'm one of them. You know?
I know you are.
But I'm just a
Kentucky
certified
Wildcats.
I'm just a certified Georgia hater, I guess. But
yeah.
It is what it is. All right, this was moving on to our final topic, and this was a topic I didn't want to talk about.
I don't think anybody
But
did.
she held me accountable.
Rachel's smiling over here right now.
She's smiling. She's holding me accountable. She said, Josh, you have to talk about this. And I was like, fine, I'll do it. The Atlanta Braves. Last week, Patrick, you had your Braves jersey on.
I did. I
should have worn mine. I was going to wear mine if they were still in it.
It was almost like the Drake curse.
But it just wasn't meant to be. By the way. Braves season came to an unfortunate end this past weekend, or last week, when they lost 3-1 against the Phillies. I'm just going to go ahead and say this. It's almost impossible for anybody to go up into Citizens Bank Park and win a baseball game.
You watching this D-back series right now? They're getting worked.
They are. I mean,
they've dropped a 10-burger on them last night. 10-0.
And listen, like I was telling everybody before the podcast, if you're going to play Philly, don't say anything. Mm-hmm. If you're getting interviewed, don't say anything because they're going to use that as fuel. The slightest thing, they're going to use it as fuel.
Those stare downs.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, everything about that series was just not going well for the Braves. I think we scored a total. It was anywhere from 11 to 13. It was somewhere in that ballpark. In 4 games, we scored 13 runs or something like that. It was close to that. You're telling me that the number one offense in the MLB, who's been hitting home runs like crazy, scoring, I think it's 4.5 runs per game. That's what they average. Yeah. And you're telling me they only scored 13 in 4 games.
Yeah.
I mean, that's terrible.
It's
I think it might even have been a little less than that. So
the last game that they lost, it was game 4.
Game 4.
I thought actually with the way the momentum was swinging, I thought Strider actually pitched a good game. He had a lot of pressure on him, and I thought that maybe he was swinging a little bit when Austin Riley hit that early homer, but then it was in that 7th inning when they had loaded bases, and I know that there's a lot that goes on, and I'm not a baseball expert, but I personally feel like Kevin Pillar should have definitely stolen home at that type of moment. Mm-hmm. I get that you have loaded bases and Ronald Acuna's up, but you kind of have to steal. He flinched around too much,
and it wouldn't even have been a steal. It would have been a wild. It was a wild pitch.
It was a wild pitch.
He would have won. He should have won.
He should have won. And I think when you have loaded bases like that. And they didn't. I knew it was over. It was wraps. And then you kind of figured it when Brian Snicker was putting in Vaughn Grimm and Mike Ford or whoever, just whoever's on the bench. They're just get out there and play. It's over. It was tough to watch, and I just think that the MLB, I'm calling them out right now. They need to relook at how they do this because all the top-seeded teams who played the best baseball this season are out because of this. Now, that's not saying other teams won't get hot. As Philly is red hot right now, and I'm praying it's a Phillies-Rangers World Series. I think that would be a great World Series.
With the Rangers winning, of course.
Yes. And the Rangers we trust.
Yes.
But I think that they need to relook at it because it's just there was so much polar that just happened this year. It just doesn't make sense with the Orioles, the Dodgers, the Braves. All those teams just going down so fast. It was just what is happening right now?
Yeah, I think it was the 5 best teams in the MLB in the postseason went 1-13.
Yeah, and the one win was the Braves.
And that was the one win.
And that took a miracle.
That really was.
I mean, when my look on the series, the pitching was fine. Like Strider's 2 starts, which he ended up getting the loss for, he pitched great. Like if you give up
first game, he could have pitched a little bit better.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, like if you give up like 1 to 2 to 3 runs against the Phillies in the playoffs,
I thought that
you'll take that.
He put the team on his back.
Figure if you would have told me that Strider was going to pitch like 15 innings and only give up 5 runs or 6 runs, I'd be like, okay, so we must have won his 2 starts, right? Because we were hot. The Braves were hot all year, and
Max Fried didn't pitch a great game either. And then Bryce Elder, they did not respect their Elder, and he sold.
It was game 3. Game 3 went the exact same way this year that it went last year, where our starter looked elite in the first 2 innings. Then that 3rd inning came around, and then they gave up 6 runs. So, Justin, what did you see in the Braves series that like disappointed you? Because obviously we're pretty disappointed today. What was pretty disappointing for you in that series?
I mean, I think a lot of things, but with the format, I will say I think that the Braves shouldn't even been playing the Phillies because they should reseed after the wild card like the NFL does. Because why are the Braves playing the higher seed? That makes no sense. The Dodgers played the 6th seed Diamondbacks, and the Braves had to play the 4th seed. Braves have been the best team all year. That doesn't really make sense to me. But disappointing wise, the Braves just don't have anybody in their lineup besides Austin Riley with any postseason flair, postseason fire. The year they won it, it was Jock Peterson, it was Jorge Soler, it was Eddie Rosario. They still have Eddie, but he's been a shadow of what he was. I think most of all, they've got to go out and get somebody that can ignite a team when their back is against the wall besides Austin Riley, because he did all he could. Game 4, he hit the solo homer. I thought they were going to get going. Nick Castellanos had something else to say about that. But, there's a lot of good bats on the market they're going to have to go out and get. I think Cody Bellinger would be a great addition to this Braves team.
It's going to cost a lot of money.
I think they need to go out and get pitching. They have got to go
they got to re-sign Fried first.
Excuse me. Max Fried, he's gone. He'll go to the Dodgers. I think he's gone.
You think?
I think he's gone. I think he's done.
Oh.
I do. I think he's gone. It would be sad. I think he goes back home. He's from L.A. I think he goes back home. Which would really stink. Dr. Bulla, go ahead and wipe the tear down your eye. No, I think the Braves got to go get some pitching. I really do, because like you were saying, I do agree about the postseason flair, but that roster is so deep. Like defensively, they play pretty good. Offensively, we know the bats are hot. I think that pitching really kills us the most. I think we got to get some pitchers in there, because if they lose Max Fried, all they have is Strider, and that's like.
Because you thought, they'll have Kyle Wright. No, he's gone.
He's gone.
Of his
shoulder. He's good. He's and then the guy from Florida, they just need to go ahead and shove him into the league now. He's been blasting his way through the minors.
I think he'll be on the opening day roster.
I think he needs to get up there and do that. But I think that they got to go out there and sign some pitchers. I mean, if you look at like the Rangers, they went out there and got Max Scherzer. You look at the Astros, they went out there and got Justin Verlander. Like, and when Jacob deGrom comes back to the Rangers, oh boy, if they still got him and Max Scherzer, that's 2 aces right there. Like, they'll be really good next year again too. So I think the Braves need to go get some pitching.
Yeah, I think their bullpen is going to be better, but they're going to have to get some starters. Like, they get back Matzik, and they'll have Minner still. They have Iglesias. They're going to have a great bullpen. They always do. But as a starter goes, you can't just hit your way through the postseason. We've seen that. Not with the offense the way it's been the last 2 years, because that's what they've tried to do. And it's worked in the regular season, but when they've gotten the postseason, the lights got a little bit brighter, and it seemed like the bats went cold. So, yeah, they definitely need some pitching.
It's hard. Even that scrimmage game, too, that practice game that they had early in the week, too, I mean, that only does so much, too. I mean, Snitker even said, he's like, Max Fried hadn't pitched in 18 days against a live crowd and a live team and stuff like that. With this, it's hard to do, and I'm no baseball expert, but I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's a sad day to be a Braves fan, but you can only look forward to next year. Now
appreciate what they did this season.
Exactly.
That was a run. I will definitely miss sitting there on like
any given
June.
day.
Yeah, in any given day, or like June or July, just watching the Braves just swing the bat.
Now the last thing to put the cherry on, well, it ain't no cherry on top, but to finish off the season is Ronald Acuna winning MVP. At least that'll be somewhat of a feel good story for me to help me feel a little bit better. And then if the Phillies win the World Series, then it'll just all go away and I'll be sad again.
It'll just be
crying again.
No, I don't need.
But we're looking forward to Ronald Acuna winning the MVP.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
All right, that's going to wrap up today's show. Thank you for listening, and thanks to our panelists for being on the podcast. I got a lot of them. Patrick, Rachel, Noah, Brianna, and Justin, thank you all for being on the podcast with me today. We'll be back with another episode soon. The Sports Squad is a production of Bellringer Phoenix Media. The producer today was Ethan Balducci. As always, thank you, Ethan. The opinions stated here are those of the individuals and not Augusta University. You can find us at aubellringer.com, on the Augusta Press website, on Spotify, and on social media. And we record these on YouTube, so you can always go on our Sports Squad YouTube channel and see us in person. If you'd like to see what we look like, you can go on there and you can see us.
Yes.
Please send your comments to bellringerproduction@gmail.com. Have a great day and listen again soon. This is Joshua Picklesimer saying so long. We're out.